Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for jumping on the call this morning. We're on day 3 of this phenomenal training hosted by our SMD, Mr. Nethi and Charles Powell. And I'll tell you, it's very excited about what's taking place. But before we start class 3, I just want to do a real quick recap, if you will, from our perspective from yesterday's class. You talked about points. We talked about doing teams, doing training sales and things of that nature. And one of the things that I'm putting on the table for you, which is the initial group, I want you to understand that we have rolled out this program on Sunday night. This past Sunday, we did a call and have not rolled out to the entire team. We have not even promoted it to the entire team yet. Those who got on and listened to the playback are jumping on board fast. But I've not even pushed it totally yet to make sure that those of you that took advantage of this, they said the early bird gets the worm. So with those of you that's jumped on and took advantage of this opportunity, you yourselves will be the ones that will be licensed, and you will be the ones doing the training sales for those coming after you. And that's going to be worth a tremendous reward to you. And you're going to learn about how you earn right now on this training today. You're going to learn how you get paid here. So one of the things I'm putting on the table for you, HLC is my company called Homes, Loans, and Credit Repair. It's a lead generation company and an affiliate company. It's not a MLM. It's not an MLM. So you're not building really a team. It's a direct sale company. But one of the main things that we do is lead generation. And we've added our financial service products through WFG to it. So one of the things we're going to be able to do for you and create an incentive for you to get your training sales out the way. So yesterday, Nethi talked about the 117 and the 3330. Well, in addition to those things, those of you that do your 5 training sales, we will promote you to that training associate, which is that 45% level. And those of you who do your 10 trading sales, we will promote you to senior associate at the 55% level. Now, let me tell you what's so important. You will not be able to be a trainer for other people unless you yourself are trained and at that 55% level. So yes, you give, and because of our HLC lead generation, legally, we can't pay you a commission through WFG unless you're licensed. But when you're coming through our HLC program, through our lead generation, I can pay you as a lead referral. So you'll be able to make a few dollars, but it's not the money that you're gonna make, it's the experience and the knowledge that you're gonna make. You know the saying, throw the man a fish, you feed him for the day, you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So let me just give you a quick synopsis, then we're going to start the training. I want you to understand something. If you do your 10 sales, and then you become, you're going to get promoted. This is even before you get licensed. So while you're going through the school, going through the system, going through the process, you are doing your training sales. I want to congratulate Kenny Barnes. We did some training sales with him last night, and Doris Gonzalez and Carlos Hernandez and then Bruce Smith. Congratulate those folks. But here's the thing. While you're doing your training sales with your family, your friends, you are going to start learning all the objectives or the objections that's going to come up that myself or Anithia or Tina or Tiffany will be able to overcome. And then you yourself will learn how to overcome them. So by the time you got your license and you're now a senior associate, you will be training other people. But you'll never be out there by yourself because Anithia, myself, Tiffany, and Tita are merely a phone call away to help you in the field. But just to give you a little tidbit of what that means to you financially, so let's say you are licensed and now you are the trainer and you help someone else who you don't know, someone I assigned to you or gave to you to train, and that person did their training sales. Let's just say, I'm going to take an average now. Right now, our average premium as our team is running about $125 a month. So $125 a month, we get paid on annualized premium. So 125 times 12 is 15,000. If you are that senior associate and you are the one training that person, that's $8,250 to you. To you. Imagine if you train 10 people. So think about that for a second. Now you're gonna give some of that back. You're gonna pay toward the lead generation, which is fine. If you gave $1,000 back, that's still $7,000 to you. So I just want you to let that sink in your head for a second, because what the biggest mistake that most people make is they say, listen, I'm going to hold my market until I get licensed so I can sell all my friends. Well, yeah, you can do that, but you have no knowledge. And you still won't be able to sell your friends, because guess what? Your friends and family can't identify this with you, because they know you to be of some other business, not insurance. So you need to sell someone else, let them close on your behalf, learn from their mistakes or learn from their questions, so that when you go out with other people, you now become the expert. So I just wanted to share that with you. So that's implemented. Me and Anithya talked last night. That is implemented right now. So that's another way, in addition to what you learned yesterday, you do your 5 training sales, we will promote you even before you're licensed. We will promote you to the training associate at 45%. You do 10 training sales, we will promote you to senior associate. And as you know, as I spoke yesterday, we have a bunch of people coming aboard, and I'm willing to help, because I want everybody to win. But I will only help you if you are helping yourself. So with that being said, Anithya, I'm going to turn the call over to you to show us the money.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dwayne. I appreciate that. And just like you said, those numbers are actually multiplied by 10 for those 10 training sales. So if any of you did the math and you came up with, you know, the 125 times 12, which gives you 1,500 per person, and then you multiply that by 10, I just want to make sure that's where he got the 15,000 from, okay? And then you multiply that by the 55%, that's where you get the 8,250. I just wanted to make sure I reiterated that, that piece. But Dwayne, in terms of where the money is, let me just share this with your leaders on this call. First of all, if everyone on this call can actually get really good at pointing out to people these concepts that I'm about to share with you, okay? This financial cake, first of all, I think I went over it once before, but you know, duplication and hearing it over and over again is going to be necessary. This financial cake, just like with any cake, if anything is missing from it, that cake is not going to taste very well. So this financial cake is what I go out and I share with, when I'm doing training, I actually go out and I share this information with their market. So say, for instance, someone comes on board, I'll say to them, hey, who do you know that we can go and see, and share with them exactly what it is that you're doing. And once we go and sit down with that family, they're going to see something in this financial cake that they're missing out of their own personal finances. So I start here. I'll tell them, I'll say, you know, first of all, the first step in doing anything, you have to have a foundation, okay? Before you can start building and acquiring wealth, you have to have your foundation laid. If your foundation is not laid, then you're not building a solid house, right? So I'll say to them, you know, 1 year worth of disability can wipe out 10 years worth of saving. So we're talking about protection with disability. We're also talking about protection when it comes to their income. You know, if we are talking about a husband and a wife and his income is $100,000 a year as an example, okay, and they have small children, well, you want to make sure that your income is protected long enough to make sure that those children are able to become adults. So when we talk about retirement income protection, or income protection rather, we're talking about protecting his income for at least the number of years it takes for those children to reach adulthood. So let's just say that the youngest child is 10, and we want to make sure that his income is protected for a minimum of 10 years. Then guess what? If his income is $100,000, 100 times 10, that's $1 million. So he need at least $1 million in life insurance protection to make sure that his income is protected. So we'll put $1 million worth of protection on him. So we talk about the protection piece. Also, we talk about debt management. If a person is in debt, okay, and they have not built an emergency fund, that's usually one of the main reasons why they're in debt, because they don't have any money in their emergency fund. So while we're helping a family to get out of debt, we also show them how to increase their emergency fund. Let me give you an example. If they're putting $300 a month towards their debt, they should be putting $300 a month towards their emergency fund. But what if they say, well, wait a minute, I barely have enough for my debt? Then you know what? That person, and I'm giving you guys the psychology behind this financial cake. So I'm training, but I'm also giving you the psychology. If someone says to me, I barely have enough to take care of my debt, let alone to take that money and put some money also into an emergency fund, I will say to them, that's why you need to be in partnership with me. I show people how to get and gain access to an additional $300-400 to put into that emergency fund while they are decreasing their debt. Okay, so that's a business partner. Hey, that could be a referral partner. If they're telling me they don't have enough money to do both these things, that's your opportunity to recruit that person into this business. Okay, because there's too many people out there in debt, have no emergency fund, and by us sharing our story with them, getting them to see that what we do will put money in their pocket, or by them being a referral source will put money in their pocket, they need to be in business with you. Okay, how many times have you heard a person say, well, I'm going to get out of debt first and then I'll build my emergency fund? That doesn't work. You have to work on both of them at the same time. Okay, now when it comes to having fun and having a savings, a fun account, you do not need to be pulling that money from your emergency fund. So we show people how to develop and have a fun or savings account just for their fun. This is for vacationing. This is for, doing special, extracurricular activities, anything that they want to do that is outside of the scope of pulling money from that emergency fund. So they need these accounts set up to take care of these issues. Then once you have all of that in place, now you can build wealth. Because if you start building wealth first and you have no protection in place, guess what? Now your family is left without having that protection piece in place and you're pulling from your wealth. I'd rather pull money from my protection than to start messing around with my wealth savings. Okay, so that financial cake, if any of this is missing, then you do not have a true solid financial cake in place. Then we go on and we share with them the 4 financial cornerstones. This is what wealthy people know about money. Wealthy people know that in order for their money to do the best job or to create the most wealth for them, they need to have protection in place first, which is what we talked about. They also need to have tax advantages. Most wealthy people are paying very little in taxes because they know how to use the tax system. They know how to use the system to their advantage. So what we do is we share with middle Americans how to do the same thing. If they're not paying money on their retirement, why are you? Let us show you how to not pay taxes on your money. Okay, and then when it comes to safety, guess what? Their money is safe. They're putting their money where they can never experience a loss. And then when it comes to growth, they can get as high as 15%. And then if the market tanks are going to the negative, their money, again, is number 3, is safe. Now, the main way that most people are saving right now for their retirement is in 401ks. And guess what? Out of all 4 of these, a 401k only qualifies for one, and that is the growth. It doesn't have protection. It doesn't have tax advantage. It doesn't have safety. What if I can show you a way that you can have all 4 like wealthy people? Is that something that you would be interested in? And the people that we're talking to, they're like, yes, we would like to know where that is. Okay. And I don't give them that information right here, right now. I want them to keep that curiosity going because my goal is to drive them towards our GIUL, our Global Index Universal Life. Okay. because that's one of the places that wealthy people are putting their money, and it have access to all four of these things that I'm telling you about as far as the financial cornerstone. So then I will also drive it home to them like this. I'll tell them, if the 401k is the main place that people are retiring or having their retirement money, it's no wonder most people are going to retire broke, because they don't have these other three things going for them. Yes, it makes sense for you to let your money grow, but it doesn't make sense that once you need that money to pull it out to you in distribution, that you're going to pay almost half of it in taxes. So if you have $1 million and $500,000 is going to taxes, what was the use in developing that $1 million? But where we're telling you to have that $1 million, guess what? You'll truly have $1 million, because you're not going to pay taxes on that money when you start using it. Then I go into the options for their money, and all of this, you guys, takes about 15 minutes to go through with them. I'm just going a little bit longer with you guys because I want to explain the psychology behind it. But I will tell them, when it comes to options for your monies, there's basically 3 different ways for your money to grow. Your money can grow in a fixed account, where you can see it's very low. It can be volatile and go up and down depending on your age. That doesn't make sense. If you're in your late 50s, 60s, and you're in the stock market, and the stock market take a huge dive, then you are not you're not protecting your money at that point. Okay. Now, what do you know about indexed account, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? I almost 9 times out of 10, I know very little. I don't know anything about an index account. And then when you share with them what an indexed account is, all we're doing, you guys, is setting them up for that IUL, that Global Index Universal Life account, because that's what the index. That's what is a part of this index account we're talking about. So as the market goes up, your money is safe because it has a lock. Then when the market goes into the negative, your money doesn't participate in that. Your money sits there with that lock, and it waits till it goes up again. And then your money gets a lock again. When it goes down, your money doesn't participate. So basically, in an index account, you get the highs of the market, but you do not participate in the losses. It's almost like betting on a horse. After all the horses have come in, you know which one to bet on, right? This money in this index account is professionally money managed. You do not have to worry about logging on to try and see what the stock market did, because, did you make money or lose money? Your money is always going to be anywhere between 0.75 and 15%. And there are money managers that look at and take care of all of that for you. The most important thing to know about an index account is that you can never lose money in that index account. Then when I share with them all 3 of these options, I'll ask them, how do you want your money to grow? And every time I get index. But guess what, guys? This is where your opportunity lies, because most people, I believe 95% of people just do not know about this indexed account. Okay, and wealthy people have been using it to their advantage for decades. Now, when it comes to taxes, and this is the last one, guys, do you want your money to be taxed now, later, or never? What do you think most people are going to say? They're going to say never. But when it comes down to it, they have their money in these first 2 columns. Savings account, certificate of deposits, money market, stocks, bonds, okay, mutual funds. All of those are in that tax now account. And the way that works is, they're going to send you a 1099 INT at the end of the year. And they're going to say, your CD earned $500. Uncle Sam wants his taxes in the same year that you file your income tax. So that's tax now. Tax later are like your 401ks, your 403bs, your 457, your IRAs, your TSPs, and your TSA accounts. The way that works is, Uncle Sam doesn't want any part of it while the money is small. He wants to wait until it harvests and gets really big. Then he wants to pull taxes from it, okay? Which is what most people are doing. Now, your tax never accounts are things like your Roth IRAs, your cash accumulation in an investment grade insurance policy. And I always say to them, investment grade, because you can have a permanent life insurance policy and you're getting, 2 or 3%, but we're talking about ones that are attached to the index. And these are investment grade type policies, and they're called 7702. The 529 college plan. I would prefer to have that 529 college plan, and sometimes families tell me, oh, I have my money here in that 529 college plan. Then guess what? I hate to burst their bubble, but I'll let them know, hey, guess what? If your child If you have money in a 529 college plan for your child, that is looked at as an asset. Okay, so if your child would have otherwise qualified for grants and things of that nature, they're going to look at that 529 plan and say, oh, well, you guys have $500,000 in this 529 plan for her for college. She does not qualify for any grants. But if you have that same 500,000 in that cash accumulation in that investment grade life insurance policy, guess what? They don't see. They don't see that 500,000 because guess what? It's your life insurance. It's a great shelter. It shelters you from being sued. You know, it shelters you from having to split that money with a spouse if you're going through divorce. I mean, after all, it's just your life insurance, right? It's your life insurance with whatever you have in that cash accumulation, whether it's 100,000, 500,000, $1 million, 2 million. If it's in there, they do not see it because it is wrapped around life insurance. Great place to be. And then also you have your long-term care, the proceeds from that. That's tax-free. So I will say to people, let's take a look and see where do you have your money. Why not diversify? Let's put some money over here in this third column. And then that's when we get them started. So that's the conversation that we have with them. So you learn how to master this. And then now I'm going to share with you, once you've shared that with them, this one is called the Boom Boom. And then there's another one that is called Earn the Right that you could also do with people. And with the Earn the Right, it looks like this. It's a discussion about money. So you can either do the Boom Boom, which is the one that I just shared with you, and it takes about 15 minutes to do that with a family, because now you're getting curiosity. You're just having conversations with them about money. Earn the Right is the same way. If I gave you a check, and this is what I'm saying to the person that, a brand new person that came into my business, we're taking that person to their market. Like Dwayne was mentioning to you, we're taking the new person to their market so that they can learn the interactions that they will see on a repeated basis. And I'll tell Mr. and Mrs. Jones as the clients, or the prospects rather, I'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if I gave you a check for $10,000, where do you think most people would save that money? And they're going to say the bank. And I'll say, why is that? Why do you think most people put their money in the bank? And they'll say, because, just whatever it is that they say, you just write it down. These are some of the answers that we get from this. Well, because it's safe. It's what they know. It's what their parents did. They have very little to no exposure, so that's why they put it in the bank. They're uneducated about money, and hey, everybody else puts it there, right? Well, guess what? If a family of 4 could live off of $2,000 a month and be comfortable, and a family of 4 living off of $10,000 is broke and can barely make it, what do you attribute that to, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? And they're going to say, well, whatever it is that they say, you just jot it down on a sheet of paper. And this is me just writing this stuff down on a piece of paper, by the way. Okay, I'm not doing this PowerPoint presentation. I have this PowerPoint just for you to see. But normally I write this down and just having conversation. And I'll say, what do you attribute that to? What do you attribute the majority of each one of these families' money to go to? And then the answer to that is LS, which stands for lifestyle. Wouldn't you agree that about half of their money is going towards their lifestyle? And the reason why they're dramatically different is because the one who's living off of $2,000 a month, when they go on vacation, they may go to, if they're living in Georgia, they may go to Savannah, Georgia. They may drive down. But the person who's living off of $10,000 a month, in their lifestyle, they're probably flying out to Paris, okay? They may be able to afford that. But basically, it boils down to their lifestyle. It's the kind of house they live in, the kind of car they drive, the kind of vacation or trips that they take, the type of clothing that they wear, okay? 50% of a family's income is going towards their lifestyle. So then what do you attribute this other portion to go towards? And taxes. And then I'll have a conversation with them about taxes. How do you feel about taxes? And they'll say, well, I feel like I pay too much in taxes. Guess what? When they start telling me things like that, if you feel like you're paying too much in taxes, then guess what? They need to become a business partner to you. Because guess what? Once you come into this business, now you are able to write a lot of things off on your taxes that you couldn't before as an employee. Okay? I have people coming into this business just because I'm sitting down talking to them about business ownership and how they can write a lot of things off. The trip that I'm taking to go down to Charlotte today, you know, what we spend in gas, I mean, all of that's going to be a tax write-off. I'm going to help a business partner to build and develop her business, you know, so trips that we take. So taxes, you know, we find out how they feel about taxes. And then what is this other portion? Good old-fashioned American debt. And then I have a conversation with them about their debt. How do you feel about your debt? Do you have too many debts? Do you have too much debt? And then they'll start telling me, yes, I have lots of debt. I'll say to them, okay, what do you attribute this portion of this personal economy to go towards? And the answer to that is savings. So as you can see, most people are not saving. And if they are, they're not saving enough. What we do, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, is we show families how to cut their taxes in half and how to cut their debt in half. And with the same money that they're currently spending, we show them how to bring that money over here and have it professionally money managed. Okay, so I'm drawing another circle here. And we're going to show them how to take that same money that they're using. Now, what am I doing? When I show them how to cut their taxes in half, and how to cut their debt in half. What we do, guys, we have what is called a debt snowball. So if a person is in debt, we show them how to get out of that debt by using this debt snowball. And we'll go over that in another training. But if they're using that debt snowball and they're reducing their debt, they're going to do that a lot quicker with your help than without. Now, that debt snowball, we don't charge them anything for that. That's just one of the pieces that we use to say, okay, this is a service that we have for you. Let me show you how to get out of debt. If you go to someone with just that alone, are you in debt? Let me show you how we help people get out of debt. Then you can share with them the rest of all of this stuff, and you can either help them to get a term LB or an IUL. So what we have to offer to people is ingenious, guys. All right, now this professional money management that we're talking about having this money under that same thing that I was telling you about. They have the global index, and this is our GIUL. Now, most companies will not even sit down and have a conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Jones unless they have $250,000 or more to invest. But our company, whether you have $50 a month to save or $500,000 a month to save or anything in between, we help middle Americans, okay? Then I go through and I share with them this. I say, my job is to show you how to take your money from point A over here to point B. So I've got to help your money move in this direction. The way we do that is through a principle called the Rule of 72. Have you ever heard of it, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? And they'll say, well, no, I've never heard of that. And then I explain to them what the Rule of 72 is. My job is to show you how to get a double on your money and to get a double on your double, and then to get a double on your double. That's a lot of doubling going on. And the Rule of 72 helps us to do that for them. You take the number 72, you divide into it, your rate of return. It will tell you how many years it takes for your money not to just grow, but to double. So let's look at 1%. 72, if you're putting your money in an investment at 1%, 72 divided by 1 is equal to 72 years. This is where most people are saving their money, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Remember you told me you would take that money to the bank? The banks are giving less than 1%. So if you're taking your money to the bank, we're going to be nice and say the banks are giving you 1%. Your money will double every 72 years. So if you're 29 and you have $10,000, then guess what? It's going to take 72 years or until you're 101 for that 10,000 to double to 20. Now, is that too long for you to wait for your money to double? Exactly. What if I can show you how to get 4% and then 6%? And for sake of time, I'm going to just go ahead and jump to 10%. So 72 divided by 10 is 7.2 years. So now your money is doubling every 7 years. Now let's take a look at age 29. From 29 to 36, that 10 doubled to 20. 7 years later, you're 43, that 20 doubled to 40. 7 years later, you're 50, that 40 doubled to 80, so on and so forth. All the way down to age 71, you have $640,000. Well, guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? What if I told you we help families to get up to 15% in interest? Is that something that you'd like to know more about? And of course, they're going to say yes, because if they're putting their money in the bank, they're getting less than 1%. And guys, That's at least 85% of the population. Most people just don't know where to get higher rates of return that is safe and with tax advantages. Okay. Now, with that being said, let me go to the next one here. All right, that's the rule of 72. Then I asked them this question, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, how old were you when you got your very first paycheck? And they'll tell me, 16, 15, whatever it is, you draw a circle and put that number in there. For the sake of this illustration, it's 16. Then I'll say to them, do you remember where you worked? Oh yeah, I worked at McDonald's, I worked here. I'll just write that to the side. And I'll say from the time you got your very first paycheck, and guys, I want you guys to think about this too. And so that you can see how it feels, and you'll see what their facial expression looks like. From the time you were 16 years old working at that job that had your first paycheck, from 16 years old to today, and whatever your age is today, are you satisfied with the amount of money you've saved? And then I just pause and I hesitate and I look at them and they look at each other and they're like, and they shake their head. No, I have not had one person yet to tell me, oh yes, I've saved pretty well from 16 to today. And guess what? Even if I do get someone to tell me that, oh yeah, I'm good, I've saved excellent money. Okay, great. So in your retirement then, when you get ready to retire, you're going to be paying taxes on that money, or is it going to be tax-free? So I'm going to get them one way or the other. I'm just waiting for the opportunity to be able to say that, but I've never had one person yet to tell me that they've saved enough money. Okay, and then I'll draw this line going up where you see the dotted line. I say, well, guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? First of all, my job is, we can't cry over spilt milk, but from today moving forward, I'm going to take your attention to that solid line at the bottom, at the very bottom that's pointed right here going all the way to age 100. My job is to show you how to move forward from today moving forward, how to start saving more money. The wonderful thing about it, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you're still in your accumulation phase. You're still working. You're still able to make money. But at some point, you're going to want to retire on that money. And that's when I draw the line going down. And all of this is them retiring on their money. So what age do you want to be when you retire? And that's the line that goes straight down in the middle. Guys, I'm telling you, you focus and learn these little drawings here I'm telling you about. It's helping to make thousands of dollars. So if they tell me 65, I'll draw 65 right there. I put 65 there. And then I'll tell them, based on what you start doing today with your savings, we're either going to make your line go closer to today for your retirement, or for most people, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we have to draw that line further out this way, closer to age 100, because most people will not start saving today. Then I'll ask them, do you happen to know what your FIN number is? And they look at each other. No, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, your FIN number is your financial independence number. It's going to tell me, how much money you need in retirement. And then I'll say, how much each month, when you turn 65, how much do you want in your retirement to coming in every month? And if they say in this illustration, if they say $10,000 a month, I'll say, okay, we're going to take 10,000 multiplied by 12. That means you need $120,000 a year in your retirement. And then I'll say, well, now we're going to take that 120 and multiply it by a minimum of 25 years, because that's the minimum number of, that's an average number of years that people are in retirement. So 120,000 a year times 25 years, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, your FIN number is $3 million. Do you know what the biggest threat is to that $3 million? And I'll let them say whatever. But really what it is taxation and procrastination. Because what if you had to pay half of that money, the $3 million, what if half of it had to be paid to Uncle Sam in taxes? You really don't have $3 million. What if there was a way that I can show you how to have that money tax-free? Because do you want that $3 million tax-free, or do you want it taxed? And they're going to tell me tax-free. So all of this that I'm doing, they're telling me that they want the IUL. So you're pretty much setting them up for the IUL, which is what they need if they want it to be tax-free. Then I'll tell them and introduce them to this financial needs analysis. I'll tell them, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, just like a doctor needs to sit down and ask you questions about your health, we're money doctors. We need to sit down and ask you questions about your money. So this financial needs analysis is going to address these 6 things: cash flow, debt management, emergency fund, proper protection, building wealth, and preserving it. Guess what? Most companies are going to charge you from $500 to $1,500. Our company, we do this complimentary. So I'll sit right there and do the financial needs analysis with them. Then I'll go into the habits of savings. And again, guys, this stuff takes about 15 minutes for me to do. In the 1980s, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, people were saving 10%. 1990s, they were saving 5%. In the 2000s, they were saving 2%. And today, they're saving less than a negative 1%. A wealthy wise man once told me that if you want to be poor, guaranteed to be poor, save 10% of your income. If you want to be okay, you'll save 20%. But if you want to be wealthy, you'll save 30% of your income. And then I go through and talk to them about how money gets taxed, find out where their money is, okay? And then I have a conversation with them about that tax advantage that we talked about, okay? So now I want to share with you, once you get people excited about, you know, hey, I need help myself. Now I'm going to show you the opportunity for you to be able to make some really good money, because you really want to disturb people to get them to move to action. We talked a little bit yesterday about the fast track, as well as the industry track, how points were calculated, okay? We also talked about working personally. My husband have been in this industry for 30 years. Coming up this August, it will be 30 years for him. He worked relentless by himself for 30 years. And had he had a system like this in place that's being introduced to you guys, he would be a multi-millionaire by now. But trust me, he's not yet. Okay, we're working on it. So personally, you can do a lot of things here personally. So if a person say, hey, I just want to come here and make some money, I don't want to build a team, that's fine. We got you. We can help you do that personally. But a person who wants to build a team, oh my goodness. All right, so let's take a look at this. Again, a training associate, you start out at 30%. That 5, as far as getting promoted and doing 5 training appointments, that's what Dwayne was talking about, you getting up to that 45%. And then, I'm sorry, I have these numbers in here incorrectly, because that senior associate is supposed to be 55. So I'll go back and correct that. So that SA right there, senior associate, that's at 55%. Okay. And then a marketing director is at 62%. Guys, this is your base, and you generally get a base when you make SMD. But guess what? Because you all are SMDs in training, if each one of you brings someone on your team, like let's use Margaret for an example. Margaret, I believe, have 4 people on her team. So Margaret's base consists of those 4 people, okay, that's on her team. Now, imagine Margaret and her team going out there continuing to build and build, and they have, you know, and so Margaret inside of her base, she have training associates, and some of the people in there got promoted, they're associates. Some of those people got promoted, they're senior associates, and that base continues to get bigger. Well, if Margaret and her team produce 50,000 points, now keep in mind, we talked about the points yesterday. So now this is not just Margaret producing points, but she and her entire base, if they do 50,000 points, okay, the SMD that's on that's over that base generally gets about 30% of everything that happens in the base. This is why everybody on this call, you want to get to SMD, and you want to get there as quickly as you can. 50,000 points times 30%, that SMD just made about $15,000 off of that entire base. Now, each one of the people that's in the base at their level, they're still going to get what they're supposed to get. So it's not like anything is coming from their pocket. It's just that for that SMD, or for that person building and helping to build and build and build, because guess what? You'll get a lot of phone calls from the training associate. You'll get calls maybe from the associate. By the time you get to senior associate, you've learned some things, and definitely by the time you get to MD, you definitely have learned a great deal of things. Now, what if that base actually does 70,000 points? Because I just showed you 50,000, but if that base does 70,000 points times 30%, now you're looking at $21,000 that month. And you take that multiplied by 12 for the whole year, if they do 70,000 points average per month, then guess what? That's an income of 252. But guys, that's not even the best part. The best part of this thing is you producing other SMDs. So what if Dwayne or Tina, let's just go to the top of that whole leg. Let's just go to Tiffany. Tiffany Simone actually brought in Tina Samuels, right? Tina Samuels went out and found Dwayne Eddings. So let's go back up to Tiffany. So let's just say Tiffany brought in Tina. Now Tina can't come out of Tiffany's base, and now she's an SMD. And guess what? And what if Tiffany go out and produce not only just that one SMD, but she go out and she find out of her base is being produced multiple SMDs. So let's just say Tiffany have 10 SMDs now, and they're all side by side. If she have each one of those SMDs, and I hope you guys can follow this because it's kind of visual here. If Tiffany produces 10 SMDs out of her base shop, and each one of those SMDs and their bases do 50,000 points, guess what? The first base, first of all, 50,000 points times 17%, because now she's going to get 17% off of everything each one of those SMDs do. That's $8,500. But if she go out and produce 10 SMDs that's doing 50,000 base points each, that's $85,000 that she made in that 1 month. Okay, so, and keep in mind that 17% is just the first generation. Every SMD that you produce out of your base shop, you will get 17% off of everything that they and their entire base shop do indefinitely. So you see why, you know, we want to build SMDs, okay? So again, I'm gonna stop right here and ask if there are any questions about that portion of it, because this is very important that you understand that this is why people who have 600, 700, and 800 SMDs on their team are making the kind of money that they're making per month. That's why people like Eric Olson last month made over $500,000 just last month, because of this very thing that we're talking about right here. You know, now when I was in corporate, there's no way that I could possibly make $85,000 a month, or, you know, $500,000 in a month. But with this system, this is one of the reasons why Dwayne is so excited, is because with this system, you know, once you've built the foundation on it, you cannot stop the growth of it, even if you wanted to, because people who see this, they say, hey, wait a minute, I can make multiple SMDs. I want that 17%. That's just first generations, guy. Our comp system goes 6 generations deep. Okay, you go 17, and then it goes down to 8, and then 5, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1%. So if you have 1%, like some of the leaders in our company do, you've gone 6 generations deep. That's crazy mad money. One sounds like it's a small number, but when you start putting these points and everything to it, it's huge, especially if you're going 6 generations deep. Now, keep in mind that first generation, you can have unlimited SMDs going wide. Imagine if you had 100 SMDs times that 8,500, okay? So just keep that in mind. And I want to pause right here and see, are there any questions about this generation right here? Go ahead. Are there? Okay.
Yes, it's Derek Smalley. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I was copying early this morning a lot of the information from the Dropbox.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing this point system, is what you just did. Is that in there?
I'm not sure if that's in there or not, but if it's not, I'm pretty sure Dwayne will get it in there today.
Yeah, Dirk, that'll be added in today, and it also will go out with the playback. So first of all, guys, all the playbacks are recorded in the YouTube. I recorded them on our HLC Lifestyles YouTube channel. So subscribe to HLC Lifestyles YouTube, and then in the email that you sent, you got the slides from yesterday's you get the slides from the other day's training, and in the body of the email is the YouTube link that you can view the audio and video. I'm about, as soon as this presentation's over, I'm gonna send out yesterday's playback with the slides, and then later on today, after I edit this video, I'll send out today's presentation with the slides, and they'll all be in the Dropbox.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
I just
Okay.
want to add one thing, Denithia.
Yes.
Guys, I've been in this industry a long time, 30 years, and the thing that excites me the most is even with our travel, our Bitcoin, our carrot bars. The carrot bars and the Bitcoin, that's great because that earns us some money a little bit off the ICOs, and it's really a savings platform. But I'm talking about as far as the opportunities are concerned. This one pays the most off of building organizations. I mean, I've had organizations into the thousands and never had opportunities. Never made $100,000, $200,000 in a month. We made $100,000, $200,000 in a year, but we never did it in a month. And I see through this opportunity here, by creating wealth, by helping other people, you're really going to bless some people, help them get to the top. And then what you're doing is you're creating job security for yourself, so that in the next few years, you don't have to do one policy. You're messing around just traveling, doing some speaking engagements, helping other people, motivating, inspiring them, and you're earning 6 figures a month. That's what I say.
Exactly. That's why when you guys come to convention, which I highly recommend everyone on this call to go ahead and get registered today for convention, and it's going to be held in Orlando, Florida. You're going to meet a man named Greg Cap. Greg Cap, we call him Papa Cap. He prays for the team, but all he does is go around to each one of his, to each one of the offices where other people have built offices, and he does speaking engagements, and he is making oh goodness, he haven't had an office in over 17 years, so he's comfortable with making just over $2 million a year. He's comfortable with that. But the people that he brought in are making $5, $6, $7 million, and he's overriding all of that. And so he's very comfortable. He was a postman, postal worker, and he talked about how he didn't feel like he would make it because people say, "Oh, you're just a postal worker." But when he was introduced to this, it took him a few years to even make money because he didn't know what he was doing. So the support that you guys have to be able, for my husband and I, for us to be able to come here in our first year, to make over 6 figures, and it took me nearly 20 years in corporate to do that with a degree. You guys are on top of something that's phenomenal. Dwayne, with the system that he's putting in on top of the system that is already there, the system that we already have is excellent. And Dwayne is taking what is already an excellent system and adding and tweaking a few things to make it even better. I didn't even think it was possible for this system to get any better. But for what he is outlining for you guys to get to your associate and your senior associate promotion with his lead system is phenomenal. Phenomenal. So with that, my challenge is for you guys to hurry up and get to, get through your training, go ahead and get through your classes and become, a senior associate, then get into that marketing director. You want to do that. And guys, keep in mind, points travel up. So I wanted to talk to you very briefly about that. So in this illustration right here, if like, say for instance, this person up here, that's you, and you bring on a business partner A here, and that person does 9,600 points for that month, and then this person B does 9,600. These are just illustrations or examples. Everyone underneath you does 9,600 points. All of those points travel up to you. Okay, now the company, as long as you're bringing in people and you're helping them to, to be successful, everything is going to, all points flow up. So if there was another person that's above here, that person would also receive those points. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Points travel up. So if you ever have a question about that, Excel testing, so for those of you who are on the call who are not licensed yet, I'm going to send something different out to you now, Dwayne, because I just received an email, and I think that price has gone down to $19.95, which is awesome.
Awesome.
And let's see. And I could get more into product if you guys want me to, but let's see. I mainly wanted to share with you the information about how you get paid. And there are 22 different ways we get paid, so maybe I'll share some other ways, but having that override is one way we get paid. Personally, you get paid, but I will go over the 22 different ways that we get paid on another call. And guys, just really quickly, inside of that IUL, you know, the 3 different indexes that we're talking about, the S&P 500, the Euro Stocks 50, and the Hang Seng. These are some of the companies that are inside of each one of those index. Okay, so if somebody's driving a BMW, I want to thank you very much. You're contributing to my IUL. Anybody who have an American Express, thank you. Okay, Coca-Cola, you know, all of these things are inside of our IUL that gets us to that 15%. Okay, and this is what it looks like again. The S&P 500, the Euro Stocks, and the Hang Seng for the past 20 years. This is what it's looked like. In 1999, our accounts were credited with 15%. In 2008, when everybody was losing money, your account got credited with 0.75. Okay, so again, that last column over there, you can never lose money in that IUL. And that's the beauty of it. And then when you get ready to pull the money out of the account, guess what? You're not going to have to worry about paying taxes on that. So at age 62 right here, this person have $1 million in their account. Guess what? They actually have $1 million in their account, because when they start pulling that money to them, they're pulling it out tax-free. So guys, our story makes sense. It's the solution to what's wrong with the majority of the population. So when you have solution that's what's wrong with the majority of the population, you just put yourself in a position to make some really good money. And you want to bring as many people on board in your business as possible so that they can make good money as well, because they know people that you don't. So that's why it continues to go. Okay. And Mr. Powell would like to just one or two things.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I've been in this industry, 29 years now. I have an anniversary coming up, it'll be 30 years. And I'll tell you, the financial service business changed my life back in 1988 when I was a 23-year-old kid, and I just stuck with it. I stuck with it without a system. I stuck with the financial service business working by myself. I opened up a single office in Atlanta and Buckhead by myself, working alone. But as you know, when you're working by yourself, they say it's no cap on your income, but it kind of is a cap on your income. And I came aboard WFG to eliminate that cap, that stopping point that I had on my income, to actually build a team all over the country. I'm able to do with this system. I don't know of any industry in the world where you can change your life in 30 days with that license. There are people changing their lives, leaving their jobs, firing their bosses in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. There are people doubling their income in 12 months. They may be making $250 now, and they're making $500,000 a year. I don't know of any industry in the world. Take note, usually when a football player or ball player retires from the sport, they do one or two things. They sell insurance or real estate. Majority of us sell insurance. I think when Peyton Manning's father left the New Orleans Saints, he got into the insurance business. That's just one story. There are a number of stories where professional athletes and individuals who are used to making millions of dollars are in our industry. Hey, thanks for coming aboard. Thanks for taking a look at us. I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm also looking forward to hearing your testimonies. Thank you.
So Dwayne, that's what we have for today.
Awesome. First of all, guys, that was Charles Powell, which is Nithia's other half, also our SMD. So you may not know the voice, but now you'll be able to place the voice with the name at the face when you see him at the convention. We'll make sure that to kind of reiterate the convention, conventions are used to build your businesses and also build your belief systems. A few of us just registered yesterday, and I definitely implore you, encourage you to come out. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida, June 30th, and I definitely encourage you guys to come out. And I guarantee this, if you do come out and see it, by the time you leave out of there, one thing is I've known for being in this industry for 30 years, that those that attend the convention, belief level and strategy levels goes up. You're 6 months ahead of that person does not. Because I'll tell you, leave out there, we call it ignorance on fire, and you start seeing yourself and hearing the stories of individuals who is just like you, regardless of what your circumstance may be right now. As Charles said, in 30 days, that can absolutely change from one point to another. So we can't change the past, but we definitely can change the future.